I'm Vanessa, and today with Nova Careers, I'm talking to David. Good morning, David, or good afternoon.
Good afternoon. We'll go with that. Definitely.
Can you introduce yourself and tell us about your current role with the Greater Columbus Sports and Events Council? Did I get that right?
Yes. I'm David Boyd. I'm with the Greater Columbus Sports and Events Council. My position is I'm the Director of Operations. And what we are is basically a non for profit, but our mission is to generate tourism dollars. A lot of people want to use the term heads and beds, but it's more than that. We want to generate experiences that lead to heads and beds and generate tourism dollars for our economy. That's new dollars coming into Columbus, Georgia, done through sports, and it's the traveling aspect of sports in general. I mean, that's where the sports tourism has come from. We originated from the Olympics. After the Olympics, it just started. It's about 96 ish. They started a sports council. The visionaries at the time, they were amazing, and said, what can we do to keep bringing people to town? So they established the sports council. And that is where we are as far as where we came from. But we have changed over the years as the mission has changed, as travel has changed, as sports has changed. So we keep growing, and that's what we work towards.
So you're saying heads and beds.
Yeah, that's
What does
another
that mean?
word because we're hotel motel tax funded. So basically, we have a hotel motel tax here, and it's split up between the Visitors Bureau, Sports Council, and like two or three more entities. And we take that money from the tax and we go out and recruit events. The Visitors Bureau has a different role. They do a lot of your conferences and things like that. They're partners of ours. And what they help us with is dealing with hotel rooms and things like that when we need help for getting pricing and things like that. We have a lot of partners. Our job as far as the hotels is that we want people to travel in, bring their event to our town. Once it's in our town, we want the teams to come, the families to come, and enjoy everything we have to offer. The restaurants, the hotels are one part, our amenities, whitewater rafting. We have something a lot of places don't have. We have a great National Infantry Museum. We have so many of those things that make a sporting event. It's actually more of an experience because I like to say, you come for the event, it's a competition, you know that, and a lot of places have that. But people want more than that when they travel. They want to come back and go, hey man, I had the greatest time ever. I had great food. And if you ever want somebody to never forget you, send them to a good restaurant. They will remember you for life.
Oh, that's awesome. So is your role recruiting those different
Our,
sports events?
yeah, our biggest events right now, per se, are like the Georgia High School State Softball Championships. We got
Okay.
8 classifications with 8 teams. It's a 64 team tournament. What we do is we help take care of them, actually. We recruit them. We bring them back. Right now, we're lucky because they've been a long time customer of ours, a partner more than a customer. I'd say they're more of a partner because we've worked together so long. We go out and pull those events in because we know, and what's really great is girl sports. I'm going to be honest with you, they bring more people with them than a lot of the others. And the really great thing is when we get them here, we have different roles. The original role for a sports council and our partners is to get them here. The secondary role is to help with the event. What can we do to make your event be a success? So it could be, I've done everything from be the cameraman to work registration, to help with ticketing, help with parking, to help with any aspect of what we have to do to make it a success. No two events are ever the same. Well, actually, no 2 days are ever the same, to be honest with you. And that's some of what we do, but we're like a one-stop shop. We can do just about anything to help an event. And our big thing, like you said, is we will go out and recruit them, and we get referrals. It's a lot of customer service as far as hospitality. We have to share that amazing Southern hospitality, which goes a long way. We do. I was just trying to think so many different. We help plan like a player party or give suggestions a lot of times and places to eat. And we have so many great partners in our community that we're kind of like the conduit that helps pull a lot of that together because we couldn't do it by ourselves. We're basically a staff of 3 people,
Oh,
and
wow.
we work with volunteers. Volunteers help with our events, so that's another component we work with. So we are really a little bit of everything, but we're the glue, I like to say, that pulls us all together.
Do most cities have this sort of a council or this sort of a tourism? I don't
There
even
are
know what to
several.
call
There are
it.
quite a few that do have a sports council. Some have a sports person maybe tied to the chamber. We're unique because we're basically a standalone. So it
Okay.
gives us, and we carry the not-for-profit status, so we
Hmm.
can help. There's some organizations that need us to help them with their fundraising or something like that. So we have options. A lot of things that we have maybe some other places don't. But that our focus is really just sports, where if you have some that maybe it's like a conference in sports and it gets to be a lot, there is a lot within sports, the different components. So for us, it's great to be able, we can really focus on it and look at ways to always make it better. That's the big thing with us. It's not about, I keep hearing the word best, I don't believe in better, because my theory is always better beats best. You're only
Yeah.
the best until somebody better comes along and takes care of that. So that's what we work on, is working on getting everything better, giving them a better experience. And
Mm.
that goes a long way. And, for us, we do so many different things. It's
Hmm.
exciting. It's a lot. It is a lot of work. A lot of people think it's real glamorous. There are times, we're getting to meet. I have a lot of great friends. I've got one that's the world champion. He's a blind golfer. I have others that are Olympians. I have different, a lot of friends that I've made through sports. But there are a lot of times they see
Hmm.
the behind the scenes. We're like, that duck where
Yeah.
it's cruising across the pond and you don't see the feet going, or the web feet going like 900 miles an hour. We're the web feet going 900 miles an hour. So that is
Yeah.
just that component right there. There's so much that we do and get to do, and some great opportunities, meet amazing people. That's probably the best part of my job.
So what does your, and this is probably a loaded question, what does a typical day look like for you?
There's a couple different typical days. A typical day when an event's not running, we're working on the laptop. We're getting contracts signed. We're following up on volunteers. We're doing a lot of that type work. We're looking at RFPs, requests for proposals, and looking at recruiting other events. So that would be a normal like office day. Now, if it's an event day, my day could start at 5 in the morning and go until 11 at night. It could be maintaining the event, and a lot of it depends. If a group comes in and they have a lot of their own staff, we don't have to do as much, but we're there for support. Where other ones we may have to do a little bit more. So, and it kind of fluctuates, because when you come to the event side, really no 2 days, no two events are the same, because we just got so many different components. Because like an outdoor event, we're dealing with weather. An inside event, it's not as bad, but you may have some weather, like offloading athletes. We've had that with cheerleading, getting cheerleaders safely off the bus so they can get up into the building, because we have a lot of the wet stuff going on. So there's a lot of that that's on the event day versus a normal office day. So, we got to put a different hat on, maybe a split personality. That could happen too. But
So would you say your job's kind of, is it a hybrid? You said you go into an office, or do you usually go into the office during the day, and obviously then you work off-site when there's those events, but do you work from home some, or you go into the office?
the thing that's really neat is my office can technically be wherever my laptop's at. So if an event's going on, we're set up wherever the event's at. There's times we work from home. There's other times where we run into the office. So, I mean, I've even pulled off the side of the road, took my laptop, hooked it up to my cell phone to get signal, and worked where I was sitting in a parking lot. So we're so mobile, and really we do have a basic home is where our office is, but we are moving around between, because like you have a golf course, we may be there. We could be at the baseball stadium, could be at the football stadium, could be at the softball. We could be, at a running race, a bike race. There's so many places we can be. So our office is as flexible as we are, and that just happens because there's certain times of the year where we're so busy we may have multiple events on the same day. I think the most I've had is 4 events running at one time. So that way we can be a little more fluid with our movement. Just grab that laptop. As long as you got your phone and you can connect and you got a signal, you can do everything, because we can connect to all our stuff that way.
So how did you get into this career field?
I volunteered at Sports Council, and this was, oh my gosh, close to 20 years ago. Volunteered for the NFCA Leadoff Classic for the Division One teams, and my dad's a Michigan grad, so we found out Michigan was coming, so we volunteered to be, hey, we'll be the host family, and it went from the host family of Michigan to where we were actually coordinating all the host families for all the teams, making sure a team would have somebody that was just available if they have questions or things like that. And I did that for, I think, 2 to 3 years. And then after that, they hired me on as the event manager at the Sports Council and wanted to know if I wanted to make a change, because before that, I was in manufacturing for years. And I made the change. And from there, I've worked my way to director of operations.
Oh, that's cool. So that started in high school when you were volunteering.
Actually, it started, I started, I think, when I was 43.
Okay. Okay.
Because I've been at the Sports Council in my position now 16 going on 17 years.
Okay.
And then the 2 years before that, I was working in manufacturing. So I made a complete career change. I moved from basically the hospitality, tourism, sports industry, from manufacturing. And I've worked for like Pratt Whitney doing jet engine parts. I've worked for the Yazaki Corporation, a big Japanese company that does car parts, electrical components, and then Quad Graphics, which was at one time one of the largest printers in the Northern Hemisphere.
Okay. So you made a career change.
I made a career change and changed into this. But
Okay.
the thing I learned is you can take the processes that you've learned in your other jobs, put them in that
Mm-hmm.
toolbox they talk about. And when I moved into this one, it wasn't a big change because I understand processes. So I could take what we were doing and equate that to what I've done kind of before and fill in those little boxes of what the details are now, but I understand processes. So
Gotcha.
it's that toolbox as you grow up and you're getting older. It's all those things you learn that later you realize all of a sudden how important they were back then when you really didn't appreciate it as much.
Right. Yeah. That makes sense. It threw me off when you said your dad. So this was just when you were
Yep.
older and you saw
Older.
Michigan was coming. And so, yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Well, that's cool. Did you need a special degree or any special training for this?
To start out, basically where I started out at, I didn't have anything other than the basic degree depending on where you're at. Some might want something more in hospitality. That can happen. But I've got the designation of a STS, which makes me a sports tourism strategist. That's something I did through Sports ETA, and it's an educational component, and it took 6-7 years to do it. So it's
Okay.
almost like a version of a master's degree in
Oh,
sports
wow.
tourism, where I look at the economic impact, and there's several classes we take, and we have to renew our designation every year. And
Okay.
a lot of it's great education, and it's different components of what sports really are, the world of sports tourism, and it's the like event management. It's the how do what do you do so you can communicate to the community what you really do and what impact it has, because a lot of people don't really see that part or are exposed to it. So
Mm-hmm.
it taking a lot of great educational features to educate us as much as we can, because it's like anything else. It keeps changing over time. So
Right.
what I knew yesterday isn't good enough. I need to know something new tomorrow. So it's a lot of those things, but there's a lot of continuing education items that are available. There's some free stuff if you look out, people want to look out online, and I did that on the hotel side because we really don't do a lot of the hotel component of what we do. That's what we got such great help with the Visitors Bureau and things like that, and our partners. So there's all kinds of things that kids, if they're out there, if you just go out there and look, there are some that do like some free webinars and some things like that and give you a
Okay.
chance to learn. But there's nothing really better to me than hands-on,
Yeah.
because until you get your hands on it, you really don't understand it. And that's when you really see what's going on, because you can tell people all day, but unless you see it, feel it, and know it that way, you really don't understand. Because it took me a little while to get the grasp of that, just to see the difference in the industries. But
Mm-hmm.
I had a big jump just because I knew processes,
Right.
and that made it better for me.
Was there a moment that you knew that this was like the right fit for you? It seems like you're very passionate about your job.
But yeah, I would say when you get past the learning curve, because I don't believe fake it to make it. I think that's a myth. I think you got to learn on the curve. That's the way I see it. And once I felt and I got through a couple of events and could see everything that happens and get an idea of what we did, the impact we had, and all that came together. I would
Mm-hmm.
say the first year was more of a learning experience. Second year was more like, okay, let's grow from it. I would say within my second year, I started really having a grasp of what was going on, and that's when you found out, like, yeah, I like this. This makes a lot of sense. You got a lot to do, and then you start making and building relationships. So year one is your first part of building relationships. Year two, I know you know people now, and you've got the relationship. Once I started generating and having those relationships, that's the part that really made it fun for me. The other part is just work. Folks are gonna say, "Well, you can't." Yes, you can say that. If there's work always involved, you got to know there's work, and then you have the benefits of the work. For me, the benefit of the work are I have some of the greatest friendships and relationships from working at the sports council to people I might not have ever met.
Mm-hmm.
That's the part I really like. The other part, work's work. Yeah, I mean, that's great, but no. I've made some lifelong friends. We still stay in touch. We may not even do the event anymore. They could be retired, but we all still stay in touch and root for each other.
That's awesome. Would you say then that's the coolest or the most rewarding part of your job? Are the people that you meet?
I would think so. And I had an experience that was really, really neat because, we got our start from the Olympics. Well, we were getting ready to host Team USA, and I think it was the International Cup, and we had a press conference going on. Well, one of the former members of Team USA that played in that stadium and won the gold medal happened to be one of the assistant coaches, Laura Berg. and we're still friends to this day. And every once in a while, get a hey, how you doing? Life's good. Everybody's great. I got to go down on the field with her, and on the field they won the gold medal of the Olympics, and she took the time at home plate to stand there and tell me about her Olympic experience and winning a gold medal. Those things don't happen very often. And I'm
Right.
like, I get some moments like that. It's like I'm reliving their history too. They're telling me, and you're part of, you're hearing the stories and doing the things like that is just, and I've gotten to meet a lot of really neat people at conferences and things like that. I mean, Olympic champions and, professional athletes and, collegiate champions and high school champions. And there's some that I remember playing in the high school state championship that went on to play on Team USA, and then they went and played in the softball World Series. And when you still see them, it's like you were just watching them yesterday. So those are some of the coolest experiences. Even had one swim team want me to do the championship chant with them.
That's awesome.
So a lot of
That's
great
really
fun stories.
Yeah. It sounds like that would be very interesting, and you get to meet a lot of interesting people and, people in all different walks of life. So that's
Yes.
cool. Yeah. Is there any sort of a tool, or I guess you use your computer to organize things. So are there
Yes.
certain tools or certain apps that you use to stay organized that if someone was interested, this might be an app that they could brush up on or learn?
A lot of thing is like Excel, your Word, your Microsoft Office. Be proficient in that. And then you got some more things that are industry driven. There's a sports tourism index we use to calculate visitor spending, and that's something that's through the business. There's a lot of things like that because when we were looking, especially calculating, how much we made or not made, but how much was brought in by a tournament. You have those type things, and then there's a lot of learning software where we get tested. I got tested today on spamware. IT people tried to sneak one through, and I caught it. So there's a lot of things like that in our industry. A lot of it's industry driven as those type programs. So the industry's driving that, and we're using those. And some of them will generate leads, send us information about, hey, I'm this event. I'm looking for these type features. I need these things. I need hotels. I need an airport, and then we review them and see if it could fit for Columbus. Then we do a breakdown of it. We look at how much impact it could generate, what the cost would be to our organization or the sponsors. We'll do a lot of stuff like that. So some of that is generated by other organizations that send it to us. So that part really nobody can really get a hold of unless you're working somewhere like that. But the big thing is just being efficient on the computer, but not being afraid to make mistakes and being able to utilize it. Because there's so many people that don't want to try it or do it, especially in the workplace, because they're
Right.
worried they're going to make a mistake. Well, if you don't make a mistake, you're not working. That's the only way
Yeah.
you learn is make a few mistakes.
Very
So
true.
there's a lot of that. So the big thing I would say, anybody looking to do something like this, I think first go volunteer. Get an idea of what it's like to see an event running. Get an idea of what's really going on because a lot of people that don't get exposed to it think, oh, it's glamorous. We just come in. I mean, they did well. I don't know who they think's putting the tent up, who's putting the tables out, who's coordinating concessions, who's coordinating the crew, who's coordinating security, where the trainers are coming from. They don't see that part, but our volunteers see all of it because they're there from in the mornings and the evenings, and they know what we do really. And they're some of our
Right.
biggest advocates. I mean, they'll put the word out and things like that to get help when needed. If we need more volunteers, they talk to their friends and help us recruit. And then when people are here, they're ambassadors. Like our volunteer base, they'll do a lot of they get to know you when you're here. You're coming in and out, and you're here for a couple of days. Well, they'll start referring you to great places to eat, things to do in the community. So they're
Right.
putting the word out with a personal touch.
Yeah, that's a good connection to have that. So you guys use a lot of volunteers then?
We have several events that we use quite a few. Georgia High School State Softball is a great one. It's 4 days, and we have a couple different. We split the days in half so they won't be so long. And we're handling ticketing, we're handling parking, we're handling a lot of those things, holiday, different things like that with volunteers. So, and some other events like basketball may need people to help walk teams back to their locker room. So there's a variety. And in some cases, the organizations walk in with their own staff, and we don't have to supply or not have to, but they don't have the need for
Right.
volunteers, so we don't have to do those. But it's kind of really so event specific, but
Right.
they're always there and ready to help because they love meeting people and they know they're making a difference because the volunteers, that welcome, that smile, it makes everybody feel. I mean, you're in a different town, you don't know anybody, you don't know anything. Well, you walk in the door, as a visitor, and you walk out as family is what we try to do.
That's awesome. I like that. So you guys, it just depends on the event, how many volunteers or if you're
Right.
going to need volunteers. But yeah, that makes sense. When you were in high school, what did you want to be?
Well, I was playing a lot of sports. I mean, always have that dream of, scoring the winning touchdown or making the Olympic wrestling team or something like that. And then, after that, I got heavily into manufacturing and learned later on that our family in Michigan was really big in manufacturing. It's one of those things you learn, so maybe that was a little bit in my blood, and I didn't know it at the time. So I
Mm-hmm.
ended up going that route. But in school, oh my gosh, I had so much fun having teammates and great friends, and that's where I always wanted to be. And as other things came along in different type businesses, the team is the most important thing. I'm one component of a team. I'm not
Right.
the whole team or the whole driving force or anything like that by no means. But I'm one component of it. And if you put all our components together and we're rowing in the same direction on the river, we know we're going to do well. So that's the thing right there is one of the things what you want to do when you grow up. Well, you know what? I'm still growing up.
I hear you on that. I'm still trying to figure out what I want to be when I grow up. So there's that. But it's kind of nice that it aligned. You loved sports in high school, and you're getting to be in that realm still. So that's good. That's a good connection. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it helps because you understand a lot of what goes on playing
Mhm.
before,
Oh yeah.
and and you're used to being around athletes because you're around them most all your life. Because I think I started competing when I was probably 7 years old. I
Mhm.
bowled, I played football, I played basketball, I wrestled, I played golf. We did everything growing up. So you do have a little bit of insight on a lot of the different sports, and you understand competition and you understand athletes. Now the parents, on the other hand, that's a different animal. But
Yes.
you know, being on the being a parent later of an athlete, you do understand later. But when you're younger, you don't understand all that part. But it's
Right.
really neat to watch just how it's changed in my time over the last 16, 17 years, and just
Right.
watching how events have changed and how it's gone so much to a lot of experiences when you see a lot of things that are put out on social media and things like that. Before it was just you win, you stay, you lose, you go
Yeah.
home.
Yes. Oh yeah. Social media has definitely taken it a whole different direction. So, but I'm thankful for social media.
Oh yeah.
What would you say is the biggest challenge being the director of operations?
With I would say the biggest challenge that we face and all of us is competition is one
Oh,
because we're
okay.
competing against other cities and organizations and things like that. And it's a challenge for us to always to continue to improve. We can't be what we were yesterday because yesterday's not good enough anymore. We got to be something new tomorrow. So
Mm-hmm.
that's always a big challenge. That's probably the biggest. And then, your venues and what you have because you can't be
Mm-hmm.
everything to everybody. So you do have to figure out where your strongest points are and, work towards the others. So just you can't be one dimensional your whole time as a in the workplace like that or in that niche of the sports tourism and sporting events. So you do have to reinvent yourself, I would say, every so often. And that's
Yeah.
some of the things we really have to look at because you got so much competition out there with different venues and different things. So
Mm-hmm.
we have to really go above and beyond in some cases just to let them know, making sure people are welcomed, feel
Right.
like they've had the best time ever and want to come back. So those could be our biggest challenges, and there's always a new challenge. Tomorrow there'll be a new challenge we didn't think about yesterday, or things we're going to work towards, and that's why we got to continuously getting better at what we do, and looking at those avenues. Because yesterday wasn't good. Wasn't good enough. It may have been good yesterday, but tomorrow's where you want to be when you keep moving.
Sounds like you have to ahead of all the things. It's constantly changing.
This industry's definitely,
Yeah.
and well, when we're talking about education too, we got to keep educating ourselves on what the trends are, what new sports are out there, what things we may need, 5 years from now that we
Right.
might not be thinking about today, but there's things that we may need down the road. So we have to have a long-term plan and be able to sustain what we do.
Yeah. So it sounds like a person needs to be willing to learn, have a
Mhm.
welcoming, like have a good personality. I know David has a very welcoming personality, but what kind of a person would tend to thrive in this type of role?
A person who's not afraid to take chances, who
Okay.
is, you know what I mean, and is willing to step out of your comfort zone because there's going to be a lot of times you're going to get out of your comfort zone with the
Hmm.
new, as new things change or especially with like new events, some things you may have never seen and heard of. So
Hmm.
a person that likes that type of challenge is not afraid to work hard And I say that to everybody. I say that to all the kids, my grandkids. Those
Right.
that are willing to work are going to pass the other ones that aren't. You're going to make it just by putting your nose to the grindstone and being willing to work and put the work in. Nobody's going to give it to you. In this industry, nobody will give it to you. That's a fact. And I think that type of person, and you don't have to be a super people person per se, but you want to be able to, it helps. If you have the personality to where you are a people person, it helps because you're going to deal with so many personalities. But
Right.
that's something too that can come over time as you get comfortable because some people don't have the same comfort zone, talking to people or doing things like that. Whereas, I mean, I've been doing it so long, I'll strike up a conversation with anybody to see how they're doing or to see what we can do to make it better. And if having the want to do it is another thing. If you go to do something, if you've stepped into this field and you really don't feel comfortable and that's not where you want to be down the road, that might not be good, be good for you.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I always say if you get a chance to volunteer or intern, get an internship if you're a college kid.
Right.
That would be the best thing to do. And that would be the person that would thrive is the one that, oh, I've seen it. I understand what they're doing. And I want to do something along those lines. And then align yourself with the people that do it. And you can learn a lot. I've learned a lot from, people, not even just the people here, but I have friends in the industry all over the country that, we'll talk and I'll learn from them. I'll watch what they do. They might learn from me. And even though we're competitors, we're still friends. I mean, at the end of the
Right.
day, we're all working for the same thing. We're part of a group called Georgia Sports, where all the cities that have like a sports commission like we do and do sports,
Mm-hmm.
we'll go to a conference together and we'll go out and recruit business, not for just ourselves, but to keep it in the state of Georgia. That way that we're all on the same table. We have a lot of great things in common. And, we can all utilize different things. Like there's certain things somebody else may have, I don't.
We're frozen
But
on
then we can
hold.
entertain that group and have them in Georgia versus David, can't handle them and they go to Alabama. So you have a lot of those
Mm-hmm.
relationships too, where we all work together and help each other out. I mean, if I can't handle it, I'm gonna call somebody else who can. And in the long term, if you're looking at the long term benefit of that, I took care of my client and I turned around and gave them to a friend in Gwinnett, and they did a great job. They're going to say, "Hey, I know David has this. I want you to work with David because this is what David helped me with." So there's a
Mm-hmm.
lot of that relationship building and trust. If the clients don't trust you, you're pretty much dead in the water.
Thanks for that information. And you kind of maybe answered this question. I was going to say, what skills should a teenager start building now if they're interested? And I'm not sure if you may have skills, but you also said volunteering is
Oh yes.
important. Yeah.
Yes, volunteering and looking at that aspect and getting a feel for like the events, how events are run or different things like that. And there's great opportunities for kids if they have in their school or their town. Like there's a lot of them here that have to have volunteer hours. So
Okay.
we'll pick them up from the high school. They'll come out and volunteer. Well, they have an idea before they even go to college. They have an idea of what we do, if that's something they'd like to do, and then they have time they can learn from us, and we can mentor them and
Right.
maybe lead them in the right direction. That's huge to me. Because if you can see it and feel it, you've got a lot better understanding of it. Other things like I'll tell you what, hit your books. Make sure you learn your math. I'm using math every day, and I mean calculating things, even laying out, making sure a field's laid out right. You got to know how many feet. You got to know. There's a lot of things like that you need to learn. So while you're in school, make sure you're hitting your basics. Make sure you're getting math. You're doing all those things to set that part up for success because you're going to have some education involved, and then get the real hands-on. I think the volunteering to me is really a big key when you're younger, because then you
Mm-hmm.
do know, and then you can ask questions, and we can figure it out together if there's something else. Because year to year, as the industry or the requirements or the needs change, we're seeing that as we keep going on a year to year basis.
So get out there and volunteer and get connected and see if this is something that you might be interested in. I imagine that it sounds like you have to wear many hats and be a multitasker, so you may need to be able to keep up with the pace of this job as well.
Yes. Yes, because you're going to have in the middle of an event we're running, for example, I may be setting up another event or two events, because you're
Mm,
going to have to do a lot of different multitasking that's really on a daily basis. Because if you just tune into one thing, you've got 20 other things going on. But if you build
right.
a good team with your partners and all of that, it comes together. It is a lot of multitasking,
Mm-hmm.
but it's mutual tasking. So because we're in it together, so there's some things we do and look out for each other. But you're right, there's a lot of hats because it's just going to come down to the time of the year. Certain times of the year, like May is an example. It's event, one after another, maybe a day or two in between. But the day in betweens are the setups for the next event. So there are long stretches of where we go back to back. and at times have 2 and 3 events running on the same weekend. So wherever we're at, we're going to have to throw in whatever hats needed.
Hmm.
So I could be at one event, have a coworker at another event, and another coworker at another event, or could be one of us covering maybe multiple events, and you're running between them, running with different groups. Could be a different sport. I mean, we've had softball, swimming, and basketball running at the same time. So you can be moving between those, and you're multitasking to whatever problem it is. And one thing that helps in this profession and along kind of what I do is being able to think on the fly. Because there's going to be a lot of times you're going to do problem solving, and some of the things you can learn a little bit too is basic. It's basic problem solving, and finding the root cause. And a
Hmm.
lot of people like to say, why, until you find the answer. Well, then once you find the answer, you got to do a corrective countermeasure to keep it from ever happening again. So looking through that type of critical thinking, if you get chances to take classes and do that and work on projects, that helps too. Because I was fortunate enough doing continuous improvement in manufacturing that's how we solved a lot of the problems.
Right.
It's utilizing those tools.
Right. Well, that's cool. Yeah, that's good advice for sure. I mean, for anything really in life, trying to learn how to do problem solving and critical thinking. So, I have a couple easier questions maybe for you. What was the first job you ever had?
Okay. The first job I ever had before a big boy job, I used to cut grass in the neighborhood. That's the first job. I was lucky. My dad was working for Total Systems at the time, and a bunch of his coworkers were in the same neighborhood. So while they were traveling all over the country getting business, they couldn't cut
Yeah.
the grass. So David was old enough to cut the grass. So they would hire David to go over, cut the grass for them when they came back into town. They didn't have to do it on the weekend. So that was kind of my first job. But my first paying job, a lot of kids won't understand. I worked at the gas station. I pumped gas, checked the oil, popped the hood, washed off the windshield. Full service gas station was my first job. It was a neighbor of ours, and when I turned 16, that was my first official job.
Yeah, I can remember back to those days of the full service. You'd pull in and you'd drive over the little hose that had the ding, that bell in it, the ding to let them know that someone had arrived, and they'd come out and yeah, they would do all those things. Maybe we need to bring that back.
I think so. I think it would help a lot with our senior community I think it would help. I mean, they
I
check a
mean,
lot
I'm
of the
not.
things and they could look right there. And, we used to check the air in the tires. We'd make sure it was safe for the most part from what we could do.
Yeah. Of course, now our cars tell us what our
Yeah,
air and
everything.
air pressure is and oil. So, what's one career that you definitely would not want to do?
That's a tough one. That's a tough one because there's so many that I respect that I think would be
Oh,
very tough. But, like law
okay. So
enforcement,
maybe one you not necessarily wouldn't want to do. One you. I'm just thinking on mine. Like I could never do nursing because
that's,
I can't
well,
handle that stuff.
I could never do a NICU. The
Yeah.
years we were at the
Oh.
Ronald McDonald House, because Wendy was the resident manager, volunteer coordinator. So we lived in the Ronald McDonald House for I think it was 5 years, 5 or 6 years, helping the residents. We had a nice little. It was almost like an apartment inside the Ronald House. So we lived in the Ronald House with all the families, and then seeing what the nurses at the NICU could do and what they dealt with every day. No way. I could not in any
Mm,
way do that. I love them all to death. I think they're the most awesome people in the world and got my respect, but I couldn't
right.
do that. My heartstrings couldn't do it.
Yeah. Mad respect for sure, but yeah, that's not an area that I was gifted in to be able to handle that sort of stuff. What's one piece of advice you'd give your 16?
I would say go for it. Don't worry about anything. Just go for it. Because you know what? You'll still come out the other end, but you'll have no regrets. Because there's some things you look back on and go, man, I wish I'd have tried that. No, you're young enough. Go for it. Try it. Live life.
Right. And especially, I mean, I think you made a good point on volunteering. There's so many areas out in your community that you can volunteer and get hands-on experience. And I think that's a good place to start, especially when you're 16 and you don't know for sure what path you want to take.
Yes, I agree. Because we got to do a lot of different. Even though I mentioned we were living in the Ronald McDonald House, our
Hmm.
kids, none of that counted as volunteer hours. You had to volunteer outside the house for your hours to count for school.
Oh, wow.
So they got a good taste of what other organizations were about. So when it came time later and they were looking at professions, They kind of had an understanding of some of the other organizations or other industries, for example, or different things, career paths. They had some working knowledge of different things just being exposed, and that exposure goes a long way because if you're not exposed to it, you don't know. Real hands-on, real life exposure to things are life lessons, and those are the things that will resonate the most with you and will hit home on some things because there's things
Right.
that may pique your interest that you've never been exposed to, and that may be your path, and you're going to be amazing at it,
Right.
but you don't know if you're never exposed.
Very true. Great advice. If a teenager is watching this, what's one thing you want them to remember about the careers in sports and events?
That there's more than what you see on TV. It's not all about being the next great professional athlete or college athlete. There's so many other avenues if you like sports. You have organizations like all the different USA groups. They have people that travel with the teams. They have people that help with, accountants. There's so many other avenues within the world of sports that are out there. Don't get on the train track or the rail that tells you there's only one component. The only thing is out there being the next Michael Jordan. That's not it. You could be the next general manager. You could be an assistant general manager. You can manage venues. There is so much out there that you may not think of because I know I didn't.
Right.
I didn't think and know until I got into this industry that there's so much out there and there's so many things you could do that will have your passion of sports. Or even if it's not playing sports, you might have had the passion of watching sports and being involved and part of the organization. Go out there and go get it. There's going to be opportunities. You have to go get it, though. It won't necessarily come to you. So you may have to be a touch on the aggressive side to go get it, but don't be afraid to go get it because if that's what you want and that's what your dream is, go get it. Go get it, live it, love it, and have a great life.
And I think that's what we at Nova Careers are trying to do is show people, show teens, there's so many different jobs out there. Like we think, we even think, you touched on the sports part of it, but we think of a doctor or a nurse, but in a hospital there's so many different people running that hospital and so many behind the scenes that we don't see. So that's what I'm here for. I just want to showcase as many careers as possible.
And there's a lot of options, and in doing this, you're bringing a lot of great information and insight to people and kids who may not see it and know about it as much because there's so much out there.
Yes.
There's just so many different avenues and great potential to tap into their potential. There's so many things that you could be amazing at. And if you never tap into it, it's wasted
Right.
at the end of the day.
Right. Well, I thank you, David, for being on here with us today and sharing your story and teaching us some about the world of sports tourism.
Well, anytime, I enjoy it because it's been good to me. I'm telling you, I've had a lot of great memories so far, making more every day, and all my great friendships and just that part of life. And you're going to realize how important a lot of those friendships are and what they really meant. And,
Right.
I'm hoping if I can give a little insight and just pique your curiosity, that would be awesome.
Well, thank you. We can see that you enjoy what you do, so thank you for sharing with us.
Well, thank you for having me on anytime.
Yeah. All right.